Hi. So tonight I'm thinking about beliefs in general. And I felt like I probably should make this video just because I don't know who is watching my videos, past, present, or future. And even though I'm not some kind of YouTuber and I'm not some kind of influencer, I have now made more than several videos about the law of attraction and manifestation. And so the ordinary watcher doesn't know that I'm not like a law of attraction YouTuber. So whoever could stumble upon these videos think that this is a law of attraction channel, which I don't consider it to be. But they might think that. And so I figured I should clarify a few things just for anyone out there. Why do I make these videos at all? Here's what all of this channel and everything that I talk about and have talked about and will talk about in the future, here's what this isn't. Even though I talk about manifestation and law of attraction all the time, this is not me saying, this is the only way. This is the only way to exist. This is what you should believe. This is how things work, and there is no other way. And if you don't believe that, then you're wrong. And you should believe what I believe. Like I am some kind of truth bringer. No, I'm not. I actually believe that there are many ways to make sense of the world, and this is just one of the ways. I want to talk about this in depth in this video because I feel like without judging anyone and anyone's approach, I feel like that's where people go a little bit wrong, I guess I should say, just for lack of a better word, because I think it's very dangerous to try to convince anybody of anything or try to convert anybody to anything, because it doesn't work. When someone is already asking for information and then they come to you and then they ask you more about what you're talking about, so they want to hear about this stuff, this is one thing. But going to someone's door and trying to make them believe something, or even worse, trying to tell them that they are wrong and the way that they live their life is wrong and everything that they have understood about life and their framework of understanding is wrong. Well, I feel like that's wrong. I feel like that's the wrong thing to do. It just comes off as completely invalidating, doesn't it? And I'm not saying this because I'm talking about human psychology or I know anything about that. No, I don't. I haven't studied it or anything. But I am just saying this because I feel like, to me, it just feels like common sense. Like if somebody comes up to you and tells you that you're wrong and everything that you're doing is wrong, and I'm here to right things for you, how are you going to take it? You're going to take it like, fuck off, dude. I didn't ask for this. And nobody likes being told things like that. And furthermore, I don't even really believe that there's a wrong approach. I just believe that there's so many approaches to get to one destination, the same destination. Like if you were to ask me what do I think people want at the end of the day, I think that they want to feel good. I think that they want to make sense of life in a way that makes sense for them, because nobody likes to feel confused. And there are many ways to get there, to get to that place where you make sense of life, where you feel good. It has never made sense to me, the way that people debate about these things and the way that people want to be like, there's only one way. Only I am right and everybody else is wrong. Only I have discovered some kind of truth that everybody else needs to subscribe to. Because I feel like people are just not made that way because we're so different and our lives are so different. And it's not like one approach is gonna make sense to everybody. And I don't think it should be that way. Because if you ask me, like if I could say that there's like one fact, like objective fact about this universe, I would probably say it's that everyone is meant to be different. And that there are meant to be different approaches, and you're just meant to find the one that works for you. I have never understood this when people have just been like, there's only one way. I was thinking about this analogy earlier, which is like, imagine that there's like a group of people who all want to get to one and the same destination. They are scattered all over the world, these people. And so now everybody has to decide what is their mode of transportation to get there. And some people are really like 5 minutes away from that destination, and other people are in a different country. So obviously the one that's 5 minutes away, they would decide, I don't know, maybe I'll walk, maybe I'll take an electric scooter, something like this. The one that's in a different country would be like, I'll take a plane. And arguing about like different belief systems and what's really the truth, I feel like it's kind of like somebody being like, the only valid mode of transportation is planes. You know, the people who are 5 minutes away from the destination would be like, that doesn't really make sense for me, because like I'm 5 minutes away and I'm not going to take a plane. But it's like the other person just keeps on insisting. No electric scooters, okay? Planes are the right form of transportation. Everybody should always take planes. Like, that doesn't make any sense. This analogy doesn't make any sense, and I know it's a little bit ridiculous. But still, I'm just trying to illustrate to you how I feel about these debates. Because what does it matter? If the destination in this example is feeling good, making sense of life, and the different modes of transportation are different belief systems, then what does it matter? If we all end up at the same destination, life individually to us makes sense to each of us, and we individually may feel good in our own lives. What does it matter? What was the mode of transportation to get there? All of these are viable modes of transportation. It's not like one thing is more right than the other. Sometimes even I myself gotta remember this, because, you know, if you're talking about something that you really believe in, because obviously I believe in this stuff, you know, I believe in manifestation, law of attraction, I don't know, psychic abilities, all that, like, that stuff appeals to me. It makes sense to me. It's just how I make sense of life. And I'm kind of hardwired to be that way. So obviously, if I am talking about these things from my perspective, sometimes it may sound like I am preaching something, or I'm trying to say that this is the way. And this is why I'm making this video, because I don't actually want my videos to come off that way. Because it's not the only way. My way doesn't have to be your way at all. And this is not ever what I am trying to say in any of my videos. But it can be difficult sometimes for it to like not come off that way, because if you have a belief system, no matter what it is, whether it's manifestation or if it's some kind of any religion, or even just being like a logical person, like let's say you notice patterns. You like pattern recognition. I like that too, by the way. But you are just like, you explain everything by logic and psychology and things like that. That is a sort of belief system. If you were to ask me for like another fact of the universe, I would say it's that everything, no matter what your belief system is, it's gonna be proven as real to you. And like, that's actually one of the things about law of attraction, is that one of the truths of this belief system, like my belief system, is that law of attraction makes everything real, like no matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what it is. If you believe it, law of attraction says, yes, boss, it is that way. And here's all the evidence about that. And so every single person, like when they're talking about their belief system, because law of attraction has proved to them that yes, this is real. This is all that they have seen and experienced. And it's very, very real for them because like it has to be, because the universe is set up this way. Then it's sort of natural that it comes off like this is the way, because it's not that this is the way, it's that it's their way. Like I hope you can hear the difference in that. So when I talk about these things, I'm not saying this is the way. I am saying this is my way. I am just talking about my way, and that's it. One of the things I have never liked about how law of attraction and manifestation gets represented is that it's very often represented as this some kind of sensationalized thing. Complete magic. Like, I'm sure you've seen this, like if you have watched videos about it. My whole life changed. All my dreams came true. And it's not that that's wrong. Because, yeah, these things do happen, but I just don't like sensationalizing this because, you know, and this is just me. Again, I am only talking from my perspective and my opinions. But when I started studying the law of attraction and when I started like really understanding what it's actually about, I began to understand it's not really about these manifestations, which is the thing that gets used as why you should believe in this. This is the thing that gets so sensationalized. All of your dreams will come true. That's what is like the catchphrase of this whole thing. But it misses the whole point. And I have talked about this before, how I feel like the whole point of manifestation, what it really is at its core, is regulating your own emotional state. It's paying attention to your own feelings, making sense of your own feelings, and then doing something about it. When you feel bad, you don't actually want to feel bad. Nobody wants to feel bad. We're like hardwired to feel that way, that we don't want to feel bad. And we're law of attraction, manifestation, it just gives you a toolbox of how to deal with that, like what to do about it if you feel that way. Because it's not natural. Like, I believe that our natural state is joy. I shouldn't even say joy. I should just say our natural state is to feel good, basically. And that can be joy, it can be interest, it can be contentment, something, whatever. There are degrees of intensity, but that's the natural state. And law of attraction just gives you a toolbox of like how to get there. And many other approaches do the same thing, because they also realize that everybody at the end of the day wants to feel good, wants to make sense of life. Nobody wants to be confused or feel bad. But when law of attraction gets sensationalized, all of that just gets missed because it becomes about these physical things that are happening. I have briefly mentioned this before in a video that these physical manifestations are nothing more than a byproduct of what you have accomplished with your emotional state. This is just evidence to show you this is what your emotional state is. Nothing else. It's not magic. And so when they present this whole thing as like, this is something absolutely magical and you have never heard of this before. This is like me sitting here. And again, I'm just saying how this sounds like to me. This is like me sitting here and going, gravity. Isn't it this amazing thing? Isn't it amazing that I'm not floating off into space right now? Gravity. I need to tell you about gravity. Have you heard about gravity? Do you know about gravity? Complete magic. And if I did that, you would be like, but what the fuck? That would make no sense. That would be that this person, I'm crazy. You understand that gravity is kind of like it's just a fact of life. And if you were to ask me, again, in my life, law of attraction to me is just a fact of my life, and that's it. When I started studying this, I did not discover magic. Once I really began to understand what this is really about, I discovered, well, this is the most logical thing I have ever heard in my life. I just discovered that it's not about these manifestations. Yes, they will happen. I've seen it myself. You can test it out yourself. Or maybe you can think about stuff that has happened in your life, and maybe you can put like 2 and 2 together, or at least think like maybe there's something to this. But it's not really about the manifestations. It's about your emotional state, and it's about learning to regulate your own emotions, and learning that it's not about other people, and that it's not other people's job to do that for you, and that it's not about the situations or anything outside of you that is causing you to feel any type of way. It's like learning that I, myself, am causing myself to feel some type of way, and there's something I can do about that. I don't have to just take it if it feels bad. It's learning that it's not that it's these life circumstances that are triggering some kind of random emotions in me about which I can do nothing. It's learning that actually these situations that happen are not under my control anyway, and that the only thing that is under my control is how I feel, because how I feel is the result of what I am thinking. It's the result of what is my focus about something. That seems to me like a very logical conclusion. Doesn't seem to me like magic at all. You might have even heard approaches like this before, but they were not labeled as law of attraction, but it's basically the same thing. And maybe you want to argue against that. Maybe you want to say, well, no, it is these situations that make me feel something, because I will admit, when something happens and you take an emotional hit from that, yeah, it does feel like it's this thing, the situation that's making me feel something. If you were to practice this, let's say that you are interested in law of attraction, you want to use this as a way to regulate your own emotions. Because you absolutely can, and that is the whole point of this whole thing, if you ask me. Then you would start to discover that actually, when I think something, any thought at all, I have a feeling response to it. If I think something else, I can have a different feeling response to what I'm thinking. So I can think something about a situation that's negative. Something that I'm thinking is negative, not the situation itself. But I have a negative focus about the situation. I'm judging the situation as wrong or shouldn't be happening or something like that. Then I have a feeling response to it. But if I were to change my focus and go, actually, you know what? I want to feel differently because I can. And because I've started to study law of attraction, and Kelly here says that I can, so I'm going to try this out. If I now deliberately take the situation and start thinking different thoughts about it, pretty soon you would discover that how you feel changes. If you're looking for thoughts that feel better about that situation, you're thinking things like, maybe it's not that big of a deal, or maybe it could work out in my favor, or maybe there's something about this that I don't know yet, or I don't have enough information to really make a decision on this, or to really judge this situation correctly. You would notice that you feel differently. But the situation hasn't changed. All of these people are still there. All of the things that happened still happened. Nothing is different. in your physical reality, yet you feel completely differently. And then you would, I feel like, have to come to the conclusion, logical conclusion, that hey, clearly it's not the situation that ever made me feel anything. Because if it was the situation, I couldn't feel differently unless the situation's changed. But I feel differently because of the thoughts that I am now thinking about the situation, and the situation hasn't even changed. Nothing's happened other than what I was thinking in my own head. I have changed successfully my emotional state. And this is the whole thing. This is law of attraction. This is manifestation. This is at the core of this. That's it. You have now controlled everything that has anything to do with you. The only thing you can control, which is your emotional state. And that's it. If you ask me, where do these manifestations come in? Well, it's just like I said. The universe just delivers these things to you as proof, as evidence that this is your new emotional state. It's just a byproduct. But all you wanted, really, was to feel differently, was to feel better, was to feel good. You want that situation to change, you think. You want that situation to change because if it changed, then you could have a reaction to it that would feel better. So that's why you want it to change. But law of attraction is teaching you that you can feel better no matter if that changes or not. Because that's under your control. And in this way, it is simply emotional regulation. And this is the reason that I talk about this. This is the thing that I, just me, have used to help myself to get through things. And to help myself during tough moments in my life. It's the way that I have made sense of things. And then eventually changed how I feel about things. Because, there's a lot of situations in your life that you can't do anything about. That's another thing that law of attraction teaches you. That conditions are not under your control. These situations not under your control. But how you feel is. And so that's what it teaches. You tell me, what is sensational about that? Nothing, right? It's just, again, you've probably heard these things through different approaches elsewhere. It just wasn't labeled as law of attraction manifestation. But for some reason, as soon as we start talking about manifestation, it's this magical woo-woo thing. Well, I don't know. I've been studying this and I don't see anything magical. Other than, yes, it feels magical when these things actually do happen. Yeah, it does. But it's not the point of this thing, if you ask me. So this is the reason that I discuss it on my channel, because it's not because of the manifestations, even though, yes, they will happen. I admit it, they will happen. And yeah, I like talking about them too sometimes when they do happen. But the main event is how you feel, because your life is about how you feel. You experience everything through how you feel. So to me, it just makes logical sense that this would be important. How you feel would be important. But I'm just saying that law of attraction, manifestation, is not the only way. You can be a completely logical person and still find your own way to feel better. You don't have to believe in this stuff. So there are many different approaches, and these different approaches, in fact, need to exist because there are so many of us and we are so different. And one thing is not going to work for someone else. I gotta remember this too, that in my belief system says that the universe is set up in such a way that law of attraction will prove everybody right anyway. So no matter what they believe, they will be proven right. And they will have all the evidence in their life about that, about how right they are. Because this whole thing, this is why nobody can prove this to you. You have to prove it yourself. I say this all the time, right? Because this whole thing is about what you believe, and what you believe is about what you think and what you feel. And since nobody can think for you, They can't make anything happen. They can't attract anything for you because they can't think for you. And this is where it starts. The attraction of anything, it starts in your own thoughts. That's why you have to prove this to yourself if you want to. You don't have to. You might already have your own framework of making sense of things, and I just talk about this like if your life is really not working, it's again, my belief system says that it has something to do with your emotions. Because law of attraction, it just follows your emotions. It's just constantly showing you a mirror of what your emotions are in the form of these different manifestations. So if you have a life that's like really shitty and not working, I think it's important, or it's at least worth a look to how are you feeling on a daily basis. And my guess would be probably not that good. Because if you were actually feeling good, and if you were not bullshitting about it, you were not bullshitting yourself about how you're feeling, then you would have to see manifestations that support that. At least that is the promise of law of attraction. But even if that never happened, even if those manifestations never happened, this one fact remains constant, which is that you experience everything that you ever experience through how you feel. I mean, I think we probably can agree on that, even if you have a completely different belief system than I do. Like, you can't really separate any experience that you might have from how you feel. Paying attention to how you feel and learning to do something about it, and learning that you can do something about it, I think is extremely useful and important and would help you in life. And so this is why I talk about law of attraction and manifestation, because this is at the very core of it. I don't talk about it because I'm being like, this is the one way things are. Because, I can't prove this. I can't prove this to you. I can't prove it one way or another. I can't prove it, one, because I can't think for you. And two, like, all I can do is just tell you my stories and like how this is a fact of life for me, and like try to explain what this is about or how I understand it. And I don't know everything either. I really don't know everything either. You and someone else can believe completely different things, even contradictory things, and both of these things will be proven as real to both of you. So it's like completely plausible that like let's take somebody that believes in God or something, that they would be like, I have seen God with my own two eyes, so of course I believe in that. So if that's your belief, yeah, in fact you can see God, something like that can manifest for you. You can see him, or like however you would refer to God, with your own two eyes. This is like the crazy part. Like law of attraction also teaches that this is the way the universe is set up, that anything can be made real. Which means, yeah, in fact, you can experience God and see God, or whatever would translate to you as God, if you have corresponding beliefs. And then if somebody else doesn't believe that, they're not ever gonna see it. What you believe is being made true and real for you in a very visceral way. You want to be like, I have just discovered some kind of truth of the universe. Because of course you feel that way, because I literally see it with my own two eyes. That's how you would feel, right? I see it with my own two eyes, so I want to go and tell everybody else, like, look, this is God. He's right there, because you can see it. I'm reminded of this video I saw of somebody who is a believer in God. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So, but I thought of this joke, because it was just something about this person's phrasing of them just saying that, like, this morning I was just communicating with God on my balcony, and I know what they mean, right? In terms of their belief system, I know what they mean. But it was just a phrasing. And then I kind of made a joke to myself. I was like, oh, so that's where God is. God is on your balcony. That's why nobody else can see him. And it's just a stupid joke. Like, please understand. Internet, please understand this is a joke. I'm not judging this person or saying that God is not real or nothing like that. It was just something about their phrasing. But I'm just saying, like, if you believe in gods, then yeah, indeed, something like this could actually manifest. And I know they did not mean that literally, probably, that they were communicating with God as if God was like a person on their balcony. But if you really believe in God, something like this could actually manifest for you in a really visceral way, where you would say, I communicated with God as if like God was like a person. I was there and I saw this person, God, with my own 2 eyes. And this would be completely real for you because it has been made real by the universe. But the people who don't believe in God would not ever see something like this. So you could be somebody that is not religious and doesn't even believe in anything that I believe in. You're just a completely logical person. Like maybe you like pattern recognition and psychology and logic, and this is how you explain everything, like through logic or something like this. And you would find a way to make sense of what this person is saying who has seen God in this example. You would find your own way to make sense of it, and that's not necessarily wrong. But you wouldn't ever see God because you don't have corresponding beliefs that would enable you to experience something like that. So, like in my belief system, the universe is set up in a way that you are able to experience whatever, but you do need to have corresponding beliefs. You would at least need to believe that something like this can happen. Otherwise, it just won't. Like, I'm just trying to illustrate to you how each belief system is completely real for each person because it's being made real. So it's not that one of these people, the logical one, is right and the religious one is wrong. It's just that you have different beliefs, and these are just gonna make you see different things, literally. I am kind of hardwired to like believe and stuff like that, and believe that there is a lot that we don't understand, that the things aren't always what they seem, and that there's more to life than what we can see and what we can explain with logic. But at the same time, I do like patterns. I really like patterns. I also feel like I am hardwired to notice patterns. Probably because I am quite possibly neurodivergent. But I do like patterns. And the thing is, when I look at law of attraction, I see very clear patterns. I just see them. Like, I can see patterns in like what people are feeling and what they are talking about on a daily basis, and like what their focus is about things. And then I can see corresponding manifestations in their life. That is a pattern that I notice. Like, if you're wondering what I mean, it's something like maybe you really love your work, just as I do. So you really love your work. So your monologue about your work, the story that you tell about your work and how you feel about it, is something positive. You really like your work and you say things like that. I like my work. I think I'm doing really good work, or I think my colleagues are doing really good work, or it's just positive. And then if this is actually how you truly feel, then my belief system, the law of attraction belief system, says that this has to be made real for you. So you would have to see, literally, in your life, that this work sector, regardless of anything else in your life, this work sector really works out well for you. You would find that there are manifestations happening. Like there's just things, let's just call them things, events, whatever, happening in your work life that really do feel like, yeah, we really are doing good work. Yeah, we really do get really good results. Yeah, I really get along with my colleagues. I have great relationship with them. You would have to see things like that if you actually feel this way, as you're saying, that you love your work and everything works great in your work environment. You would have to see manifestations that support that, if this is true. And this is a pattern that I notice. And this is true about everyone's life. Now you could take a person that says the complete opposite thing. They don't like their work. They hate being there. And then you would have to see that, yeah, it doesn't go well for them. And every time they do it, they don't feel great. And, they don't get promotions and just things that would confirm that they don't feel great about their work. That's basic pattern recognition. In my study of all of this is what I have seen. Not magic at all. Just logical patterns, stuff happening. Yeah, I feel like it's possible to be both. To be like a logical person and want to see that things make sense and also believe in something like this. I don't know, I feel like I have been yapping for a really long time now, so I'm gonna close this out, but I just wanted to say this is why I talk about it. It's not because you need to believe this. It's not because this is the only way. It's not because this is the truth of the universe and there's no other way at all. Only planes. It's not that. I am just literally talking about my own experiences with this because I think and hope that maybe it could be helpful to someone, because at its core it's about emotional regulation, which I feel like is useful to everyone, to be honest. And this is just one of the ways you can use to regulate your emotions, and that's it. I hope that this has been clarifying or interesting or helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.